China, guys. It's always China, isn't it? Guys, here's the thing. So China is absolutely getting completely pissed off with what we're doing, which is obviously expected. Most people basically do not like having done to them what they do to others. Most people just want to kind of get away with doing the sneaky thing behind closed doors and not realize that we know what you're doing the whole time. We're just not saying anything for some reason. Right? I think personally, if you are a country that have tariffs on the United States of America, by all definitions, guys, all definitions, you need tariffs put on you, period, guys. Like, look at the price of some of the like the common, typical, regular sports cars in the United States of America in Europe. Like, the reason why when you go to Europe, you don't really see a lot of our cars, guys, is because they're wildly, wickedly expensive there compared to anything else that they're making. Guys, keep this in mind, their engines are also generally terrible. We're talking about like 4-cylinder or less for like every single vehicle you encounter, plus manual transmissions, which keep things cheap. So of course our cars are going to always be super, super hyper expensive, even if we were to take away the tariffs on some of the vehicles that are happening right in Europe specifically. But China in itself is a place that is excessively technologically advanced in terms of their military, right? I am not specifically saying here that they have the best military. They don't. We do. In fact, we definitely have the best military, but they have the best technology. So, for example, there are a couple of things that they have we do not have, and the fact that they do have these things, this makes it extremely scary for some of the things, like the hypersonic missiles that they do have. These things are terrible for us. Okay. Terrible. And we already know that. I think everyone is basically saying the same thing kind of regarding this topic, at least in the circles, right? They're all basically saying that the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to, utilize those against us. So, and that would not be amazing. And the reason why I'm saying this like this is because China recently just stated that they're open for anything. If you want to continue this here, if you want to punish us, right, for taking advantage of you. If you want to punish us, then you're going to have to punish us for real. Open threats here now, guys. There are open threats with China and the United States of America. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know in the comments. I'm not too happy with the concept of open threats coming from China or Russia generally towards the United States of America. I'm not super partial to that. All right. But let's see where this takes us, guys. Let's go and jump into this video immediately. China is getting a little unnerved by what Trump is doing. Yeah, they are. And they're threatening us. But either way, let's check it out. Let's see where this takes us, guys. This is a suggestion via a channel member. Let's go.
Welcome back. President Trump issuing a memorandum limiting China's access to U.S. markets as part of his America First investment policy. The memorandum orders the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to block Chinese investments in sensitive sectors like technology, energy, and defense, while limiting investments from U.S. pension funds. The president clarified his stance on Chinese investments during a cabinet meeting yesterday. Watch.
I have a great relationship with President Xi. I've had a great relationship with him. I see so many things saying that we don't want China in this country. That's not right. We want them to invest in the United States. That's good. There's a lot of money coming in, and we'll invest in China. We'll do things with China. The relationship we'll have with China would be a very good one.
A very good one, but the memorandum says the PRC is increasingly exploiting the United States capital markets to develop and modernize its military. And this way, the PRC exploits U.S. investors to finance and advance the development and modernization of its military. Joining me now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow and the author of Plan Red, China's...
Guys, hold on. They're not wrong, though, at all. That's exactly what China is doing. So, for example, we have a lot of companies in the United States of America that want to utilize, very excessively cheap labor that's coming out of East Asia, right? And so by doing this, you're giving plans specifically for a good amount of our technology to China. So the reason why they were able to make gigantic leaps in technology, for example, is exclusively because we've been giving them the plans for everything. Like, once we figure something out, we give it to them, guys. All right. And then what happens? They build it and then send it back to us. And then they look at the plans and they're just like, I wonder if I do this, can this happen? And now all of a sudden they are completely past us, specifically in terms of like military might, in certain aspects, guys.
This project to destroy America. Gordon Chang back with me. Gordon, great to see you. What did you make of this for America First investment policy?
Well, I think that they saw your underwriting the investment series, because essentially what they did was they took your words and they put them into that February 21 memorandum. That memorandum is going to be a guideline for everything the Trump administration does. And it's clear that we're going to restrict Chinese investments into the U.S. and our transfers of technology to China. And the thing that's important is we are cutting off the blood supply to those who mean us harm. This is really fundamental.
I mean, the Underwriting the Enemy series that I did on Fox Nation goes through all of the different ways that the United States is allowing China to do what it wants and underwriting their moves, underwriting the enemy, underwriting our number one adversary. They do this not just through stocks in America, but buying farmland. I mean, it goes on and on. Underwriting the enemy is what we're doing.
Yes, well, you know, you think about people say, well, I'm just investing in a Chinese civilian company. Well, Xi Jinping has this doctrine of military-civil fusion, which means that the military has access to everything, every civilian institution, whether it's company, whether it's a university, they all go to the military. So we got to remember, this is one big entity in China under the direction of the Communist Party.
Yeah, and that's why we watch so much, all of these moves, because the goal for the CCP, as you write in your book, is to overtake the United States as the number one superpower.
And even more than that, to destroy the United States, because they view us as an existential threat. And it's not because of anything we say or do, Maria, but it's because of who we are. You have an insecure regime in Beijing worried about the inspirational impact of America's values and form of governance on the Chinese people. So we will not have amicable relations with China as long as the Communist Party rules it. We got to recognize that.
Well, I think most cabinet members do recognize that, but there are some that are friendlier to communist China than others. I like the way Trump has both sides within the cabinet so that he could hear everything and then make the decisions. I mean, Jamieson Greer was confirmed as President Trump's trade envoy yesterday. This comes as the president is proposing hefty fees of $1.5 million on every Chinese ship arriving at U.S. ports. What do you make of this? This is interesting. Trump also ordered a probe into potential tariffs on copper imports, Gordon. This also goes back to China trying to dominate that market.
Well, what this does is it really helps the U.S. shipbuilding industry, because these rules will impose charges not only on ships that are Chinese-made, but also ships in Chinese fleets. And so that gives everybody an incentive for the U.S. to build our ships here. And we absolutely need to do that because our shipbuilding industry has just fallen into complete disrepair.
It has. Well, everyone else is building our ships, guys.
Building the Navy. I mean, look at the Navy, the United States Navy versus the equivalent of China. They've got more ships than us.
Well, they got more ships than us, and they also have weapons we don't have, like hypersonic cruise missiles.
How is that possible?
It's because although the U.S. developed the concept of hypersonic flight, X-15, we just sort of ignored it. And the Chinese and the Russians, they saw the military potential of it. And now the Chinese can hold our aircraft carriers at risk because we don't have defenses to those hypersonic missiles now.
This is a really important point that you're making. And it also applies to what we're seeing in technology and AI. So DeepSeek is racing to launch the next AI model right now. The Chinese startup says it will release its R2 AI model weeks ahead of the original May release date. The Trump administration is urging foreign allies to strengthen restrictions on chip exports heading to China. They don't want the United States to be empowering China. They don't want foreign allies to either.
Right. Yes, and DeepSeek is run more like a Chinese government research lab than it is like a private company. And that's a real warning. You know, as we saw from a lot of this Reuters.
And guys, AI is definitely going to push them in a way that's crazy, okay? Like DeepSeek is so much better than ChatGPT. Just understand what that is. That is absolutely frightening. But I will say, though, if they were to ever go public, I'd invest in it because it sounds like there's a lot of money there, to be honest. But let's continue.
Reporting that this release of the R1 model on January 20, by the way, significant date, that really was accompanying a Communist Party propaganda blitz, which means that this was all orchestrated at the top of the ruling organization in Beijing.
January 20th being they wanted to release it on Trump's inauguration day.
They wanted to steal some thunder. They then went after NVIDIA. We saw a big drop in NVIDIA.
Yeah, NVIDIA fell, bro. Like so much money was lost within a day, but like it was so cheap for a while. Hopefully everyone got into it, specifically if you guys do play in the market a little bit, because it's going to go back up. Everything is going to go back up. It's the reason why a lot of like 100 millionaires, etc., started getting rid of some of their assets, so they can turn those funds into liquidity, bring that liquidity to the market, and then basically buy a lot of cheap stock. But either way,
18% of its value on one day.
One
Now,
day,
of course, it's
yep.
recovered. They've got
yeah.
stellar earnings, But the point is that this was, I think, an attempt to injure American tech companies and to increase the flow of money into China's stock markets.
Well, I got to tell you, this is all going to be watched by President Trump because he's applying tariffs, not just on trade. He's looking at, is Europe suing American companies? Is Europe putting digital fees on American companies? Is China attacking our companies? That will all go under a new tariff rate that the president is coming up with called reciprocal tariffs.
Yeah, the reciprocal tariff memorandum is really important. That study, I hope that they rush that through because it's clear, other countries are putting far higher tariffs on us than we're putting on them. That's an unsustainable situation, and I'm glad President Trump is starting to deal with it in a meaningful way.
Guys, I've literally been saying this for a while now. If you are tariffing us, bro, why? Like, who in their right mind would say, hey, listen, it's okay, right? We're the richest country in the history of the earth, blah, blah, blah. The common typical nonsense that everyone basically speaks, right? Common typical. Bro, that is not anyone else's problem. That's not our problem, okay? The problem is that you guys are taking advantage of us. But then when we say enough, either you stop this or we're going to now have to tariff you on the same exact things you're tariffing us on, right? Then understand what's going to, like, they don't want to hear it. And the left has been completely fine, apparently, with this. And it's absolutely disgusting, guys. We're allowing people to take advantage of us openly. No, thank you.
China begin on the back foot anyway, because in the first Trump administration, the CCP made lots of promises to President Trump, and they didn't even keep half of them.
Yeah, the January 2020 Phase 1 trade deal, which had these self-enforcement mechanisms, just didn't work. And the Chinese violated from the moment that it was signed. So clearly, we shouldn't be going down that road again. Tariffs are much better. That creates an incentive for the Chinese to start acting better. I don't know if they will, but at least we're going in the right direction.
So the president comes up with these moves, the memorandum on investment, talking about fees and implementing fees on ships at a time that he says, I'm friendly with Xi Jinping. I hope he does well. I hope China does well. I'm inviting him to the inauguration. So you never really know what's poker face and what isn't.
Yeah, but I think what we have seen, though, recently, especially in the last 3 or 4 weeks, is a shift in what Trump is actually doing as opposed to what he's saying. And, I think the Chinese are getting a little bit unnerved by what Trump is doing because, remember, Xi Jinping's only plan to rescue his economy is to export more. Once he's shut out of the U.S. market, he has no replacement for that. And when Trump does something, other countries are inspired to do the same thing because Trump gives cover to them. And we're seeing even in the global South, Maria, countries are starting to impose tariffs on Chinese products.
I mean, how strong really is Xi Jinping and the economy there, Gordon? I mean, the economy has had a really rough time given the property decline. And as I reported in the past, a very important source told me that last summer, Xi Jinping had a mini stroke. And after the mini stroke, they took away his oversight of the military and gave it to one of his colleagues. So I don't know if he's actually running the military.
Yeah, the PLA, People's Liberation Army propaganda organs, have all of these praise of collective leadership, quote unquote. That's a direct criticism of Xi Jinping's style of accumulating power. And so there's a real worry that right now, I think in Xi Jinping's mind, that if he gives an order to do something, military is going to say, no, we're not going to do it, including not going to war. So this is something that we've got to watch.
How significant is the economic downfall there?
They claimed 5.0% growth for 2024.
5% growth.
It's about zero. It's a little bit above, maybe a little bit below, but all the underlying indicators, they point to essentially a flat 0% environment.
Yeah, it's hard to know really what's true.
All right, guys. All right. Guys, this has to happen. That's it. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sure people that are much smarter than me in terms of the economy, et cetera, are also probably sick and tired of it. Listen, I understand tariffs definitely have the ability to affect the people, right? But we cannot allow other countries to have gigantic tariffs on us, just like you said here, and some of them that are much higher. Bro, Why doesn't Ford sell at the same rate, let's say in India? Look at the tariffs in India. Just look at what India has on us, and see if the world went crazy when they did it to us. Okay, something tells me they didn't. No one cared. Not like that, guys. Like, just understand, a lot of countries have a lot of tariffs on us, but when we do it, apparently, we're the bad guy. But all right, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day.